cannot believe that the war went on for 10 years. Like, I would have given up. Like, 10 years? That's such a long time. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I'm going to be filming my monthly reading wrap up for the month of September. I had such a good reading month this month and I read so many good books. I read 14 books or 14 or 15. I don't remember exactly. So we have a lot to talk about today, so let's just go ahead and get straight into it. Okay, so the first book that I read is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Now this book I actually filmed a whole dedicated reading vlog for, and it hasn't gone up yet. It'll go up after this video, so either sometime later this week or next week. So if you want to hear my full thoughts, feelings and reactions on this book, stay tuned for that reading vlog. But I really loved this book. I gave it 5 stars purely because of the relationship between Achilles and Patroclus. I loved their relationship and I just thought that they were so cute together. Their soulmate connection, their love that they had for each other was just perfect, and like they were so sweet with each other. I just wish there was more of it. I wish there was more cute moments between them and more moments. I bawled my eyes out reading this book. It's so sad. I literally tabbed it because the writing is so good and there's so many good quotes in here that I absolutely loved. I actually once set as my phone background. I loved it that much, but I didn't like some of the Greek mythology aspects. I do enjoy learning about Greek mythology and I do know a little bit about it, but some of the stuff that was like mentioned, some of the stories that were told, you were like expected to have all this prior knowledge, or that's how it felt, and I don't have a ton, so I was a little bit confused at times and just like uninterested during those times. Also, I cannot believe that the war went on for 10 years. Like, I would have given up. Like, 10 years? That's such a long time. But yeah, overall I really loved the book and I gave it 5 stars because of their relationship. It was just everything. Next book that I read is A Nordic King by Karina Halley. This book I absolutely loved. I gave it 4.5 stars. It's a royal romance and it's a single dad romance, and if you know me and single dad romances, you know I absolutely love them. It's my all-time favorite trope, my god tier trope. There's something about a single dad romance and like a dad like interacting with his kids that I just love. This follows Axel and Aurora, and basically Aurora, she moved to France to do nannying jobs, and then she like is with this agency that sets her up with all these jobs, and then her like boss says, hey, we've got this job for you to nanny the King of Denmark's children. And she's really kind of hesitant at first because she's never done anything that big for like these important people, and she agrees to this job. She goes to for the interview and she's basically going to get the job. Like, the kids love her, the person interviewing her really likes her as well, and then she meets the king and the king's like, no, I don't want her to work here. I don't want her to nanny my kids. He literally has no reason behind it except that he's so attracted to her that he doesn't want her to be around because he doesn't want to allow himself to, you know, be with anyone like that. There's a whole reason about like how like his wife, all that stuff that happened with his wife and stuff like that, so he's very closed off to love. He's very much grumpy and she's very much sunshine, but this is so good. The kids are so adorable. They're like the little girls, they're like 4 and 5 I think, and they're so cute, and the relationship that Axel has with these kids and also the relationship that Aurora has with them is just so cute. And you know, obviously she does end up getting the job eventually. Axel kind of does let her get it, and she ends up working there. She forms this really good relationship with the kids, and slowly she does form this relationship with Axel. It is enemies to lovers. They do not like each other, but they're both super attracted to each other, and you know, things do eventually happen. And yeah, this book was so good. I loved it so much. The book that I read is The Casanova by T.L. Swan. Now this is the 3rd book in the Miles High Club series. I read the first 2 books in previous months, and the 3rd book in the series came out at the end of August, so I read it this month and I absolutely loved it. It's probably my favorite in the series. I gave this one 4.5 stars. I really just loved Elegant's character. So this book follows Elegant and Kate, and basically this is enemies to lovers, workplace romance. They do not like each other. Kate works in the IT department of Miles Media, which is the company that Elliot is the CEO of in the London branch, because they have a few different branches. You see the other brothers in the other books and what their role is in the company. And so Elliot is the CEO of the London branch of the media company, and he does not like Kate. Kate does not like him. They do not get along. But one day he's just like looking through the watching like the security footage before he leaves work, and he sees Kate dancing in the printer room. He doesn't know it's Kate, but it's her, and he's like, oh my god, like I'm super attracted to this woman. What the heck is going on? She turns around and it's Kate, and he's like, what the heck, like that's not right, I can't be attracted to her, like I hate her, she hates me, what the heck. And basically Kate's friends actually end up setting her up on this dating app that she doesn't want to be on. She doesn't want to do online dating, and she ends up changing all the answers to the app on the app and on her profile, and changes them to really bad things that no one would be attracted to. And then someone is actually pretending to be Elliot on this same dating app, and he ends up like logging into this account and pretending to be this person, changing all the answers, and then he actually matches with Kate, but they don't know it's each other, and they start getting to know each other online, and then Kate actually figures out that it's him, and they start getting close in real life as well. But he's not a completely different person online. He's just like a lot more vulnerable online, because obviously he doesn't know who this person is, and he doesn't think that they know who he is. And so she's like falling for both of these people, even though they're the same person. And it's just like, it's really cute. There's this whole kind of like plot twist. I wouldn't call it a plot twist because I feel like it was fairly obvious, and I feel like it was meant to be that way, but there's this like whole thing that happens, and the way that everything ties up in the end is just so satisfying. And it was like really satisfying to read the way everything connected and tied up, and like I loved that part of it. The next book that I read is actually Marriage for One by Ella Mays. Now this is a marriage of convenience trope, and if you guys know me, you know I don't really like marriage of convenience or arranged marriage, but this one has been hyped up on BookTok a bunch, and I thought that I'd read it. I've read a couple books by Ella Mays before, and I really have enjoyed her writing, and I read a few of her books this month, and so I thought I'd give this one a go, and I really ended up loving it, because marriage of convenience is very similar to fake dating, whereas arranged marriage is very different, and I don't like arranged marriage. Marriage of convenience I don't mind. So I really did enjoy this one. I gave it 4.5 stars. So this follows Jack and Rose. I know their names like the Titanic, and it is mentioned a few times. The author kind of like plays on it, and it's like, it's a bit fun. And so basically Rose, one of her relatives has passed away, and she gets left this building to where she wants to start a coffee shop, but she can't get access to this building unless she is married. She was meant to get married to this guy, but then they unexpectedly broke up, and so she can no longer inherit this property unless she finds a husband. Jack is actually a lawyer that works at the same firm that her relative's lawyer works at, and so he is involved in this. And so he actually calls Rose into his office and is like, hey, I know that you need to be married to get this property. I want the property, so how about we get married, you get the coffee shop, because there's like a building up the top of it that he wants, and he's like, you can have the coffee shop for a few years or whatever, and then like you can like rent it out, and then we'll get married. And Rose is kind of hesitant at first. She's like, why does this random guy who I literally don't know want to marry me? And then yeah, they end up getting married. She inherits the property. She develops this coffee shop and this business, and it's grumpy sunshine, obviously fake dating, marriage of convenience, and he hates basically everyone in the world but her. And I love their relationship. Like, he starts doing all these like little things for her, helping her out of the coffee shop, like when she's like building it up and like renovating and stuff, and like doing all these little things. And like Rose is so confused because he's like, why is he doing this? Like, he doesn't like me, like there's no one around, why is he pretending like that he's like my husband when there's no one here? And yeah, you know, that hate and that fake love slowly turns into real love. And there is actually a big plot twist in this that I didn't see coming, because there's like a whole underlying reason as to why Jack wants this property that you don't really know, and it's kind of hinted at throughout, and then when the big reveal comes, it's kind of like crazy. But yeah, I really did enjoy this one, and I gave it 4.5 stars. The next book I read is actually another single dad romance, and that is The Newspaper Nanny by Martin Moore. not sure how to say that. I gave this one 3 stars. I enjoyed it up until the end. Yeah, this one was nothing overly special. I did enjoy it. Super Dad romance, can't go wrong with those. This follows Liam and Juliet, and basically Liam's looking for a nanny because he just got a job being a hockey coach that obviously he has to travel around the country throughout the year, and he doesn't want to take his daughters with him, so he needs someone to nanny them and be like a live-in nanny. And so he actually ends up putting a ad in the newspaper, and Juliet sees this. She really needs a job, and she ends up, you know, being this nanny. She meets Liam, and they're super attracted to each other, but they both don't think that anything can happen between them because, you know, the kids really love Juliet, and like it's a whole complicated situation. But obviously they do slowly start to fall for each other. And then obviously in books there is, you know, a complication. There's always a complication in there. It's kind of just how writing goes. And this complication came when there was literally about 15% left of the book, and I was like, why are we throwing this in now? It just seems a bit unnecessary. How are we going to resolve this in literally 2 chapters? Like, what? And it was resolved really quickly. It was super unnecessary, and a super unnecessary conflict that happened that I didn't really like. And I was just like, I feel like we could have just avoided that whole situation, and like it was literally resolved in like 10 pages. I was like, it was so pointless to throw in there. And so that's why I gave it 3 stars, because I didn't like that complication that was just thrown in there for literally no reason, and then so quickly like wrapped up, and I was just like, we didn't really need that. But yeah, other than that, I did really enjoy this one. The next 3 books I read are actually part of a series, the On the Rope series by Ali Martinez. The first book is Fighting Silence, the second book is Fighting Shadows, and the third book is Fighting Solitude. All of these are boxing romances, and they follow 3 brothers. So the first book is about Till, the second book's about his younger brother Flint, and the third book is about their younger brother Quarry. And I loved every single one of these books. The first one's Childhood Friends to Lovers, and this one was so good, and they actually all have disability rep in them. So the first book, Till is actually going deaf, like slowly he's going deaf. He finds out when he's younger that he will eventually be completely deaf. And then Flint actually gets paralyzed and is like, has a 50-50 chance of whether he'll walk again. And then Quarry is also deaf, like he inherited the gene of where he'll slowly go deaf, but it missed like Flint's generation, I guess. And so yeah, I loved all 3 of these books. So the first book's Childhood Friends to Lovers, like I said. The second book is, I guess you could say it's Friends to Lovers, but not Childhood Friends, and also Second Chance Romance. And then the third book is Childhood Friends to Lovers as well. But there's like a complication thrown in there because Quarry had a girlfriend who was like his first love. He thought was like the love of his life. And then she actually passes away, and she was Liv's best friend, who is his love interest and his childhood best friend that he actually ends up falling for and has kind of always loved. So yeah, I loved all 3 of these books. They were so good. I gave them all 4 stars, and literally Ali Martinez writes such amazing sad books. I was crying throughout all of these, but they all end in a happy way. The next book I read was actually another book by Ella Mays. Now this was The Hardest Fall, and oh my goodness, I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. It was so good. There was just something about it. Like, I think I loved it more than I normally would have because I was really in the mood for a college romance. So this is a college sports romance. It's Friends to Lovers. It's really good. This follows Dylan and Zoe, and basically they meet in such an interesting way. Basically, she's at a party and her friends dare her to go up to this really popular guy and make out with him. And so she follows him into the bathroom, but she doesn't know it's the bathroom at this house, and so she goes in there and she actually walks in on him peeing, and she's like, oh my god, like this is so awkward. And he's like, oh my god, like, hey, like what are you doing? And anyway, he finishes his business, they end up talking, and he's like, yeah, like, sorry, I actually have a girlfriend. And she's like, oh my god, and she freaks out, she runs away. Skip a year later, they actually meet again, and Dylan was super intrigued by her the first time he met her and really wanted to like find out more about her. And so he ends up looking for her throughout like this year, and then he finally sees her again and he's like, hey, you want to try that kiss again? And Zoe's like, yeah, no, I have a boyfriend, sorry. And then you fast forward another year later, Dylan actually moves into her apartment, but she has no idea that he's moving in, and so he walks in on her, like she's just got out of the shower, she's in her towel, and she's like freaking out. She's like, oh my god, like what are you doing? She thought someone broke in, and he's like, hey, like I'm moving in. She's like, well, what the heck? No one told me about this. And so they end up living together, forced proximity, friends to lovers. This is slow burn. The angst and the tension between these two characters is everything. And it's so, so good. Dylan is the sweetest, and I absolutely loved him so much. And it was just such a good book. Like, I definitely recommend this one. You guys need to read it. It's so, so good. The next book I read, I actually also gave 5-star. This has become one of my new all-time faves, and that is The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. This book was so good. This follows Rowan and Zara, and basically this is this is a like theme park romance, and I loved it. So they both work at this theme park that's kind of like Disneyland, and basically Rowan's grandpa passes away, and he's basically, think of him as like Walt Disney. Like, he created this theme park called Dreamland that's literally like Disneyland. Like, they have princesses and castles and all this stuff, like rides, such fun stuff, and it's such like a fun read in that sense. And basically he has 3 grandsons, and they all inherit like a different part of his like empire, but they can't have it unless they do this thing that he wants them to do in each of their letters. They all have a different thing that they have to do. So this book's gonna be it's gonna be a series, I believe, that follows each of the brothers. And so Rowan is actually the dreamer, but he's kind of lost his creativity and lost that like dreamer like personality that he had when he was a kid. And so his grandpa wants him to, you know, get that back, and so he needs to like revamp the park and make it like better in a way. So he is the like, what's it called, like he's gonna like run the park. The word I was looking for was director. He's gonna become the director of the park for 6 months. I don't know why it was so hard for me to find that word, but that's what I was trying to say. And so he actually meets Zara, and Zara has all these amazing ideas, and she sends this really drunk like proposal in to be a creator, and he actually ends up really liking this, and so he hires her, and she comes up with all this amazing ideas. And you know, this is definitely grumpy sunshine, and I absolutely loved it. Like, Zara's super quirky and fun, and Rowan is super like closed off, grumpy, kind of hates everything, hates everyone, and yeah, they slowly like help each other, and Zara helps him find that like creativity that he lost. And this book's just so good and so magical to read. I literally loved it, and I'm so excited for the next book in the series, and I can't wait to read that. The next book that I read is The Sweetest, Oblivion by Danielle Laurie. This is the first book in the Maid series, and this is a mafia romance. This is actually the first published mafia book that I've ever read. I've read a lot of mafia books on Wattpad and on like even Episode, back when I used to read a lot of Episode, and I used to love them, but I've never read like a published one. This one wasn't my favorite, I'm not gonna lie. A lot of people have said that this is their least favorite in the series and the other 2 are so much better. I haven't read the other 2 yet, but I am planning on it. So this follows Nico and Elena, and basically Nico is arranged to be married to Elena's sister. And because they're like in the mafia, he's needs to marry like someone, and they get something, like their mafia gets something, I don't know, I don't really know a lot about it. So basically he is engaged to be married. Sorry to interrupt again, but why do people say engaged to be married? Like, obviously you're engaged to be married. No, you're not just engaged for no reason. Like, I've never understood why people say engaged to be married. Like, if you're engaged, obviously you're getting married. You're not just engaged for the fun of it. So I don't know why I just said that, but yeah, random thoughts with Shantelle. To her sister, but he has this really big attraction, really big connection to Elena, who is off limits, forbidden, and Elena is super, super attracted to him as well, but like nothing can happen. Like, he's meant to get married to her sister. So yeah, anyway, there's so much tension between them, and eventually things happen. And yeah, it wasn't my favorite, not gonna lie. I gave it 3 stars. I just didn't really like either of the characters. I didn't really love Nico. I mean, he had some cute moments, but overall I didn't really love him and fall in love with him like I usually do with the main guys in books. I usually am like obsessed. I'm like, oh my god, they're so sweet, this is everything. But like, I don't know, I just didn't really like it, and I didn't really like their relationship, and so that kind of like put me off the whole book. It took me a long time to finish this one, like literally like 5 or 6 days. I usually read a book in like 3 days max. And so yeah, I'm hesitant to read the rest of the series, but I've heard that the other two are so much better, so hopefully they are, and I will eventually read those. The next book that I read is The Silent Waters by Brittany C. Cherry. This book, oh my goodness, I gave it 5 stars. I loved it. I literally made a playlist about it. I loved it that much. I'll link it down below if you guys want to follow it. It's just so good. So this book follows Brooks and Maggie, and basically when Maggie is younger, something really tragic happens to her and causes her to become mute, and her and Brooks are like childhood best friends, and they've known each other since they were little. And basically this book takes place in 3 parts. So the first part, you're seeing Maggie before this thing happened, and it's building up to when that happened, when she's about 8 years old. And then the second part is 10 years later when she's 18 and she's mute. She hasn't spoken in 10 years. She hasn't left her house in 10 years. And her and Brooks are really good friends, but they've always kind of felt more for each other. And during their teen years, a relationship forms between them, and it's super cute. And then you skip another 10 years later when they're 28 and they've lost contact, and they're actually rekindling that love and that friendship and falling in love all over again. But then something really tragic happens to Brooks, and Brooks is actually like a famous musician by like the end of the book, and something really tragic happens to him. And so the first part of the book is Brooks helping Maggie through her stuff and like, you know, comforting her, helping her through music, and he's kind of the only one that understands her and really knows what she's saying, even when she can't, like, she doesn't speak, like, but he just gets her. And then the last like part of the book is spent Maggie helping Brooks through the stuff that he's going through, and it's so beautiful. I literally was crying. It was so sad, but it was just so good. Brooks is an absolute sweetheart, and I literally just fell in love with his character. I loved him so much, and their relationship was just so adorable. And this book was just so good, like so good. Like, you need to read it if you haven't already. It was amazing. The next book that I read is One Hot Italian Summer by Karina Halley. This book is another single dad romance, and this follows Claudio and Grace. And basically Grace is an author, but she used to co-write with this girl Robin, who she met in university, and they used to co-write together. But Robin actually passes away, and she's in a bit of like a rut with her writing, and she doesn't really know what to do. And so her new agent, she actually is like, hey, I have this house in Italy, you can go stay there, change your environment and write there and see if you can get any inspiration back. And so she goes up to Italy. She's meant to stay there for a month, and she's meant to be in this house by herself. But Claudio actually comes back early unexpectedly, and that is his house because Claudio is actually her agent's ex-husband. And so there's a forbidden aspect there. They can't really be together because of that whole complicated situation, and he also has a son. And so they come in and they're like, well, what are you doing here? And she explains the situation, and he's like, hey, like, you can stay, like, I don't mind, and, you know, write your book and whatever. And he's actually a sculptor, which is super fun. And so yeah, you know, there's a lot of tension between them. This book is slow burn, and there's that forbidden aspect where they can't really be together even though they want to be. And yeah, it's really good. I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 stars. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.